Okay, so constructing notes. I am going to like really urge you guys to have your notes finished as soon as you can if they're not already. Okay, you do not, take it from me as someone who's been in your position, you do not want to have to construct your notes before trials and, oh my gosh, I forgot to do my notes for module A, let me start making them now, and oh, this is what I'm going to use. No, please, if there's something at all you take from today's lecture, let it be that you need to have your notes done as soon as possible, because this isn't really active studying, constructing notes. This is something you do in term while you're still studying it. So if you're someone that doesn't do it, while you start studying module B, if module B is the one that you're doing next, I know some schools flip around the modules, whatever you're studying next, construct your notes as you go along. And as you finish the term, make sure your notes are done, so you do not have to come back to them, okay? Because yeah, it's passive. This is passive studying. There's really no benefit of constructing notes besides it's something to kind of assimilate all your ideas together and use to start doing practice writing. Okay, this isn't like any sort of application-based learning. I'm not saying notes aren't valuable. Of course, notes are really valuable, but we want to transition from constructing notes into practice writing. So, moral of the story, get them done. This is a kind of sample way of constructing your notes. I love notes tables. I find that they're just so much easier, and they just, they mimic the way you write your body paragraph, because you begin introducing your theme or idea, then you start talking about your quotes, and then you start analyzing the quotes, and then you build up to your audience impact. So as you're kind of memorizing all this stuff in lead up for trials and HSC, as you're remembering it in trials and the HSC, that's how you're writing it. So you're kind of going, okay, the theme was empowerment, my quote was this was my analysis, oh, and this is what I built up to. Do you have to write it like this? No. I've had plenty of students that got a Band 6 in English Standard and didn't use notes like this at all, but I have had students that did use it like this. So I used it like this as well, and I liked it like this. Just find whatever works for you. There is no kind of one size fits all with constructing notes. Ultimately, the bigger picture idea here is that you need to kind of be finished your notes. Yeah, as I said, so could be just your quotes. Some people just have their quotes as their notes and they know what their analysis is. They don't need to write it down. Some people like to have bullet points with quotes and analysis. Some people like to have whole paragraphs. I wouldn't recommend that, because you don't want to look at an idea through one paragraph only. What do I mean by that? Your idea about gender, let's say you're writing a body paragraph on gender, that should look different depending on the question that you're writing. Okay, your one body paragraph for gender shouldn't be the same across many different questions. So it's a little bit limiting if you write it as a body paragraph and just keep going over the body paragraph and kind of memorizing that one body paragraph. Because yeah, you're literally just kind of training yourself to only look at it through one way and not really like develop it for the question and the specifics of the question. Yeah, so I would advise against that, but I know it does work for some people. Ultimately, if you want my advice, this is my advice, to use this. Structure it around themes. Also structure it around characters, okay? So for every module that I did, I would have one like this, and then I'd also have one on characters and quotes relating to the character, analysis, audience impact. Why? Because you can be asked to do a character analysis, which is basically an essay that's not focusing on themes, it's focusing on characters. So especially for common module or module A, you could be asked to do a character analysis, because there's that focus on individual experiences or individual identities. So if you were asked to look at how different individual identities in your module A prescribed text, comment on, I don't know, let's pick something, family, randomly, okay, just pick that one. You would have to kind of, look at different characters and look at the themes and ideas that they represent at large and kind of comment on that, okay? So do it around themes and characters. Your key scenes should be in your quotes and analysis, and syllabus dot points, okay, especially for the common mod and for module A. If you if you're kind of wondering where you could put that, you could make another column here and put in link to syllabus and then link each idea to parts of the syllabus. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. This is what, this is a sample of a student's notes from last year. And this is, works for some people to have it like this. For this poem, a T.S. Eliot poem, Proof Rock, this is my kind of idea. For preludes, this is my idea. Some people do it like this. Now, I wouldn't have my notes like this, but as I keep saying, practice writing, this is something that I would do as well as writing out full body paragraphs and full essays. Essay plans. I cannot kind of tell you guys enough to always do essay plans. What is an essay plan? This. You give yourself a question and you plan out your essay. So this, this is what I would do down to almost everything, down to a T almost. So you say, all right, this is my question. This would be my thesis that's responding to the question. My body paragraph 1 would be this, which relates to my thesis and the question. Body paragraph 2 would be on this, which relates to my thesis and the question. And then same thing for body paragraph 3. And then for each argument, this kind of dot point where your argument would be for each body paragraph, the only thing I would add is evidence. Okay, body paragraph 1 was on Prospero. This is all my evidence for Prospero. Body paragraph 2 is on Gonzalo. These are all my pieces of evidence for Gonzalo. And so on and so forth for your other body paragraphs, okay? This is something I would do in your free time as well, to kind of give yourself a break from practice writing, so you don't burn out and you're not kind of like, oh, I do not want to do any more practice writing. This is a fun way to kind of interrupt that rigid study structure. This also really builds the skill of developing your ideas to the specifics of the question, okay? This obviously isn't so much about timing because you're not writing out a full essay. This isn't so much about structure. This isn't so much about what you're actually writing about in each body paragraph. This is more testing. Can you, let's say, all right, I knew I was going to write a body paragraph about the character Prospero, right? Who's a character from The Tempest, but don't worry about the play. Just know I was going to write about Prospero. I knew that in my head, okay? I had that in my head. And then I see the question. This is testing. All right, I knew everything I wanted to say about Prospero. How do I develop that to the question? How do I twist it so it's answering the question? One of the biggest mistakes you can make in the HSC overall, not just the exam, but the HSC year, is thinking that you need to have a new argument or you need to have an argument for each question. In the HSC, the question's going to be difficult, okay? I can almost guarantee you that. It'll be very fortunate if you feel that you can smash it out and you know exactly what to write and everything like that. It's very fortunate. But odds are that, the question's going to be really hard. So it's not so much, oh my gosh, I don't have an argument for this question. It's more so, what are my arguments that I have and how can I bend it to answer this question? So that's what this tests. I would very much recommend doing essay plans all throughout the year and start doing them now. Okay, prior to the HSC, I transformed these into paragraphs. Yep, for each essay plan, I would actually answer it. So there you can see. And then wrote full practice essays for the questions that I'd written the essay plans for. Okay, so essay plan. And I would suggest to do an essay plan before you do any practice writing, but you can just do it as its own separate activity too. In the HSC, I actually made, not as in-depth as this, but I made little essay plans before I would begin writing, just so I could plan it out. Something that I did, not to jump the gun here and talk about study tips already, or kind of like tips moving forward, but something that I did do in the HSC is I went through and I planned all my responses before I actually even begun writing. And I wrote down all my evidence for each essay before I begun any of them. Why? So while I'm doing module A, I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to forget my quotes from module B? Oh my gosh. And while I'm doing module B, it's not, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting stuff from module C. I just know, I have the confidence. All right, I wrote everything down. I know what I have to do. I just have to go through and do it. Okay, so this is examples of how essay plans form into whole essays. All right, other ways to construct notes, flashcards for key terms and definitions. This isn't as important for English standard or English in general. This is more so something you would typically do for like biology or legal studies, or really like you could do it, I guess, for any subject. English, it's harder to make flashcards, but I would use it to revise the rubric, okay? We've just spoken about how important it is to know your rubric and know the rubric confidently. So yeah, I would suggest to make them maybe for the rubric, and certainly those buzzwords. Quizlet is a fantastic platform for making digital ones, okay? Or Anki, A-N-K-I. An A4 summary sheet for scenes, characters, and themes. I would suggest to make a summary sheet for themes. Something that I did in the lead up for the trials, and I'm not saying like a week before or 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, I mean in the months leading up, is I would do it, especially in my free periods or study periods, whatever. I would write down my theme. So let's say I had a book that I was studying and I was studying the theme of friendship, right? I would say, all right, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. I'm going to write down friendship. I'm going to write down my argument for friendship and all my pieces of evidence for friendship and the analysis for each. Why would I do that? So I can start memorizing all my evidence. Okay, and it gets stronger and stronger. Because in your practice writing, another thing that you want to do, and there is a lot to do, but another thing you want to do is make sure that you're able to do it independent of your notes. You don't have to always rely on your notes, because you can do practice writing, you can get feedback, you can do it under time conditions, that's great. But another element is you don't want to be relying on your notes, because then it kind of it's all thrown out the window when you get into an exam and you don't have your notes. So that's one technique, I would say. Another thing you can do is mind maps for illustrating essay structures. And yeah, this would particularly be the case if you're a visual learner.